be able to, in the future, find others.
Now, we've spoken to both of you on this program in particular about the heightened threat environment many times. And back in June, when there was that arrest of those 8 men from Tajikistan who were ISIS linked, we spoke in depth about that. Chair Turner, shortly after that, you said on this program, we have terrorists that are actively working inside the United States that are a threat to Americans. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now?
Well, I think the issue of cells, and you and I were talking about that at the beginning of the show, are there individuals that are affiliated with ISIS and terrorist groups and organizations that have crossed the border, that are inside the United States? Director Wray, FBI director, has said so. We certainly have intelligence that says so. I agree with his assessment. Jim has also seen it. He's testified before our committee publicly of that fact. Those individuals are working in conjunction with ISIS with the intention of harming Americans. The director has said it directly.
They are known to U.S. intelligence and law enforcement.
And we are working diligently to try to take them down, to prevent them from doing so. And that's why the director is publicly saying such. And that's what the new administration is going to be handed. The fact that these individuals are here, that we need to locate them, we need to remove them, we need to bring them to justice and prevent them from doing harm to Americans.
When we have spoken about this issue in the past, you characterized particularly the arrest of the 8 as a success story because there was no plot carried out. They were disruptive. Are the individuals that are of concern, do we know where they are? I mean, in terms of those 8, we know they were detained and 5 of them were actually sent back to Tajikistan.
You never know what you don't know. And so none of us, certainly in positions of responsibility, would ever say that there's not terrorists in the United States. Now, I'll say what I said before, which is that we have the very best people and the very best technology looking to root these people out and find them. But if the question is, what should Americans be afraid of? What has killed Americans since 9/11? It hasn't been people sneaking across the border. And that's not to say that the border shouldn't be secure. The border must be secure. But what has been killing Americans, whether it was Fort Hood in 2009, I think, whether it was the New York attacks that killed 8 people in 2017, what we just sadly saw in New Orleans, it's actually Americans who are in this country. Actually, in a bizarre number of cases, service people. That was the Fort Hood attacks. That was what we saw in New Orleans. That was, though it doesn't seem to be shaping up as a terrorist attack, what we saw in Las Vegas. So again, that's hard, right? Why is that hard? Because if you're in this country, you have constitutional rights, meaning the FBI can't say without a warrant, I want your Facebook posts, I want your emails. That's what makes this very hard. And again, let's look at what has actually killed Americans in the 20 years. And sadly, it has been radicalized other Americans. So this gets to the question of what are the mechanisms by which they are radicalized and how can we as a community push back on that radicalization?
Right, which is why I asked you, that's a harder problem to solve for.
Much harder, because you have constitutional rights and because, you know, let me give you an example. If somebody is standing out on the street corner right now saying ISIS is the greatest thing in the world and the president is a traitor, that people would say, boy, we should interview that person. That is constitutionally protected speech. And I wonder how some of my colleagues would respond to the idea, because this individual in New Orleans did post some Facebook posts saying, I pledge allegiance to ISIS. You know, what if we had that debate? Should Facebook have instantly submitted that to the FBI? And if so, where's the line? If I say, I'm not a big fan of the next president and I don't believe that he was, you know, whatever, should that go to the FBI? It's a tough conversation.
Well, Margaret, there's no question that is what we're seeing from New Orleans. But the answer to your question is, no, we don't know where they are. We don't know where the people are that Director Wray has indicated that has come across the border, that are terrorists affiliated with ISIS, that intend to do Americans harm, that are here in our country. We do not know where they are. And part of the work and part of the reason why he's raising the alarm is we need to find them to protect Americans. Now, what Jim's saying is absolutely correct. And that obviously is the part that also breaks our heart and makes what happened in New Orleans so hard is that we had an American who was killing Americans.
Right. American-born Army vet. I want to ask